Have you ever caught yourself in one of those moments of deep reflection, questioning the very nature of what we call reality? It's fascinating how our human mind clings to the idea that things simply are a certain way, fixed, immutable. We look at our lives, the challenges at work, the complexities in relationships, the bills to pay, the health that wavers, and we tend to see them as concrete facts, external events that happen to us. But what if this perception was actually the greatest illusion of all? What if the key to transforming any stagnant situation, to manifesting profound change, wasn't in fighting against what's outside, but in unveiling a quantum secret that resides in your own inner gaze, in your way of being? This isn't just philosophical musing. This is the frontier where quantum physics meets your daily experience, where the mysteries of the universe intersect with the mundane moments of your life. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory or speculation. It's a profound truth that has the power to completely transform your relationship with reality itself, to shift you from feeling like a helpless victim of circumstances to becoming a conscious, deliberate creator of your experience. Imagine two people witnessing exactly the same situation, an objective event, yet one of them sees chaos, threat, an unsolvable problem that oppresses them. The other, in that same instant with the same facts before them, sees a hidden opportunity, a surmountable challenge, a path to unprecedented growth. The external scenario is identical, but two completely distinct realities manifest for each one. Why this glaring discrepancy? We've all experienced this. Perhaps you've been in a meeting where someone saw only problems while another person immediately spotted solutions. Maybe you've watched as a friend navigated a loss with profound grace and wisdom, while another became consumed by similar circumstances. Perhaps you've even noticed how your own perception of the exact same situation can shift dramatically from one day to the next, or even from one moment to the next, too. What explains this remarkable difference in how reality appears to unfold? The answer lies at the heart of quantum physics. Reality, in its deepest essence, is not just what happens before your eyes. It is, fundamentally, what you see when it happens, what your consciousness interprets, what you feel viscerally while everything unfolds. The quantum field, that vast and responsive ocean of possibilities, is not passive nor random. It doesn't simply throw events your way. On the contrary, it meticulously collapses what you observe with emotion, what you carry in your most dominant vibrational frequency, what you insist on calling real life, your daily existence, your experiences, your most intimate challenges, your most fleeting joys is, in truth, a precise reflection, almost a perfect mirror, of the internal filter through which you see, and more crucially, through which you feel, the world around you. It's as if you carry a unique internal lens, projecting your own deepest truth onto the external scenario. Let's pause and truly absorb this profound truth. Your reality is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you, because of you, as an extension of you. The famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics demonstrated something that shattered our conventional understanding of reality. Particles behave differently when observed. They exist as waves of probability, as pure potential until the moment of observation, and then they collapse into definite particles, into specific locations, into concrete reality. The very act of observation determines what becomes real. Your consciousness is not just passively witnessing the world, it is actively shaping which version of the world manifests for you. This isn't mystical thinking, it's quantum mechanics. It's science confirming what ancient wisdom traditions have taught for millennia, that consciousness is creative, that perception is generative, that observation is not separate from what is observed. Now let's dive into the profound and transformative implication of the observer effect in practice. How your emotional state, your most authentic inner vibration, actively and undeniably shapes the events around you, the people who appear on your path, the opportunities that present themselves or mysteriously seem to close. You are not a mere passive recipient of life's circumstances. You are an active catalyst, a powerful and inherent force in the continuous unfolding of your own existence. The universe, this quantum intelligence that permeates every atom, every thought, every emotion, doesn't respond to the linear logic of your meticulous plans, to your mental affirmations recited without the fire of emotion, or to your carefully crafted wish lists. No, It responds impeccably and instantaneously to the frequency you emit. And this frequency you radiate is intrinsically, inseparably, shaped by your observer state, by who you're being emotionally and energetically at each moment that unfolds. Think about your own experience. Have you ever noticed how when you're in a particularly foul mood, everything seems to go wrong? The traffic lights turn red just as you approach. People seem unnecessarily rude. Small inconveniences pile up until they feel like mountainous obstacles. And conversely, have you experienced those magical days when you're in a state of flow, of alignment, of joy, and suddenly the world seems to conspire in your favor? Doors open, synchronicities appear, even strangers seem unusually kind and helpful. Most people dismiss these patterns as coincidence, as random chance, or they attribute them to some vague notion of good luck or bad luck. But what if there's nothing random about it at all? What if these patterns are precise reflections of your own internal state, your own vibrational frequency, your own way of being in that moment? Think about your daily life. Reflect on this. The same day can be viscerally perceived as chaotic, stressful, filled with insurmountable obstacles, a day where absolutely nothing seems to go right, where the energy is dense and heavy. Or, paradoxically, this very same day with the same external conditions and the same number of hours can unfold as a continuous flow of subtle miracles, of perfect synchronicities, of unexpected opportunities that arise from nowhere, of a profound peace that envelops you. The difference, the key to this dichotomy, doesn't reside in the day itself, nor in its external circumstances. The difference lies solely in who you're being energetically while living it, what your dominant frequency is. If you wake up and observe the world with a dominant emotion of anxiety, of hurry, of distrust regarding the future, the quantum field, in its vibrational obedience, will begin to collapse events and interactions that resonate perfectly with that anxiety. You'll attract, unintentionally, more reasons to feel anxious, perpetuating the cycle. But if you consciously choose to observe with a frequency of calm, of anticipated gratitude, of genuine openness to possibilities, even before anything visible happens externally, the universe rearranges its elements, probabilities adjust, to mirror this new vibration, this new truth you're emitting. The observer effect isn't a distant theory or an academic abstraction. It's your living experience with every beat of your heart, with every breath. What you feel when looking at your life is what defines, with precision, what your life will become. Consider a specific example that might resonate with you. Perhaps you've been struggling financially. You check your bank account, and immediately your body tenses. Your breath becomes shallow. Your stomach knots with anxiety. You begin to think of all the bills that need to be paid, the goals that seem impossibly far away, the financial freedom that continues to elude you. In this moment, in this observation, you are literally vibrating at the frequency of lack, of scarcity, of not enough. And the quantum field, in its perfect responsiveness, will continue to match that vibration, bringing you more experiences that confirm and reinforce that scarcity, that struggle, that feeling of never enough. But what if, in that same moment, checking that same bank account with that same balance, you consciously chose to shift your focus? What if, instead of tensing with anxiety, you softened your body, deepened your breath, and intentionally generated feelings of abundance, of trust, of the flow of prosperity that is your natural state? What if you consciously chose to observe that number not as evidence of lack, but as simply a temporary data point in an abundant universe that is always conspiring in your favor? This isn't magical thinking or blind positivity. This is a deliberate, conscious use of the observer effect, a recognition that how you observe reality directly impacts which version of reality manifests for you. When you change how you observe, you change what you experience. And this applies to every single aspect of your life, your relationships, your health, your career, your deepest sense of purpose and meaning. And here lies the deepest secret, the most liberating and transformative truth that, incredibly, almost no one taught you, and which, by being ignored or misunderstood, keeps us trapped in vicious cycles of repetition and stagnation. The secret is this: reality doesn't change when external conditions magically improve, when the situation resolves itself. It doesn't transform when money finally appears out of nowhere, or when the relationship of your dreams shows up at your door, or when miraculous healing happens. No, reality changes, and miracles manifest, flows open, when you see it from another place, when you alter the internal point from which you observe. Most of us have been taught exactly the opposite. We've been conditioned to believe that once our circumstances improve, then we'll feel better. Once we have more money, then we'll feel abundant. Once we find the perfect relationship, then we'll feel loved. Once our health challenges resolve, then we'll feel vital and alive. But this approach has it precisely backwards, and it keeps us locked in an endless cycle of waiting, of deferring our joy, our peace, our sense of wholeness to some future point that never quite arrives. Most of us, without realizing it, live in a dangerous vibrational inversion, a subtle trap of expectation. We wait for reality to change first, for external circumstances to adjust, and then, and only then, do we allow ourselves to feel different, to feel peace when the problem disappears, to feel gratitude when money arrives, to feel love when the ideal relationship appears. But this, my friend, is the guaranteed recipe for stagnation, for repetition of the same. It's like waiting for the mirror to smile at you before you smile at it, before you alter your own expression. The universe, the quantum field, doesn't work that way. The quantum leap, the true and profound transformation of your reality, happens precisely when you alter the internal point from which you observe, when you change your emotional lens, your dominant frequency, your core belief about that situation, about yourself. And as an inevitable, almost magical consequence, the quantum field reorganizes everything around you, rearranges the elements, realigns probabilities, and what you see externally aligns perfectly with your new internal state, with your new vibrational truth. It's your interior creating, manifesting the exterior. This is the secret that proves irrefutably that you have the inherent power to emerge from any stagnant situation. Reality doesn't change when it improves. It changes when you see it from a place of coherence, from a place of inner power, from a place of authentic truth. Think about times in your own life when this has happened spontaneously. Perhaps you were worried about a situation, consumed by anxiety, and then suddenly, something shifted within you. You surrendered, you let go, you found peace or acceptance or even humor in the midst of what had seemed so dire. And then, often without any action on your part, the external situation itself began to shift, to open up, to resolve in ways you couldn't have engineered or forced. This wasn't coincidence. This was the observer effect in action. This was you, consciously or unconsciously, shifting your vibrational state, changing the lens through which you were observing, and the quantum field immediately responding to that shift, reorganizing reality to match your new frequency. Now imagine being able to do this deliberately, consistently, with any challenge or stagnation in your life. Imagine having a practical technique, a direct pathway to shift your observer state at will, regardless of external circumstances. This is not just possible. It is your birthright as a conscious creator in this quantum universe. It is the most direct, most powerful way to transform any aspect of your reality. So how can we apply this profound secret, this quantum wisdom, in our daily practice? How do we change our internal observer, our frequency, our lens of perception, without trying to frustratingly and exhaustively change anything outside of us? The answer lies in a powerful and surprisingly simple technique, accessible to anyone at any moment, which I call vibrational repositioning. It's a direct tool that takes you to the heart of the observer effect, a shortcut to your freedom. This three-step process can be applied to any situation where you feel stuck, where patterns are repeating, where you seem unable to manifest the change you desire. It doesn't require special training or esoteric knowledge. It requires only your willingness to look within, to become aware of your own internal processes, and to make a conscious choice about how you wish to observe your reality. First, pause for 2 minutes and ask yourself, who is observing this now? This is not a trivial question. It's a matter of profound self-inquiry, an invitation to radical introspection. In the midst of a challenging situation, a persistent feeling of stagnation, a repetitive loop you want to break, stop. Don't fight against the situation. Don't try to solve it mentally. Just pause. Gently close your eyes if you can, or simply look inward, allowing your attention to turn to your inner world. Breathe deeply, with total presence, feeling your body, your breath, the air entering and leaving. Allow a wave of calm, even if subtle and fleeting, to envelop you. And then, with genuine curiosity, without any judgment or self-criticism, ask your consciousness, your inner wisdom. Who is the part of me that's observing this situation, this emotion, this problem right now? Which I is in charge of perception now? This question immediately creates a subtle but powerful shift. It helps you recognize that you are not the emotion you're feeling. You are the awareness that observes the emotion. You are not the problem you're facing. You are the consciousness that perceives the problem. This simple recognition that you are the observer, not the observed, already begins to free you from identification with the situation, creating space for transformation. Second, identify if it's your wounded self, your anxious self, or your expanded self. The answer to this question is crucial for your recalibration. By asking who is observing, you begin to discern with clarity the source of your current vibration, the lens through which you're co-creating. Is it your wounded self, that vulnerable part of you that carries unresolved past traumas, old fears, feelings of unworthiness, of not deserving, or of victimization, that's observing and therefore collapsing reality through pain and scarcity? This wounded self often views the world through a lens of past hurts, expecting more of the same, unconsciously seeking evidence to confirm its woundedness. When this part is in charge of your observation, you'll notice feelings of heaviness, constriction, perhaps a sense of being small or disempowered. The wounded self might say things like, "This always happens to me," or "Nothing ever works out," or "I'll never be enough." It collapses reality through the frequency of victimhood, perpetuating cycles of pain and limitation. Is it your anxious self? The part that's constantly worried about the uncertain future, about what might go wrong, that feels rushed, in control, or overwhelmed by demands? That's acting as the primary observer, manifesting more of the same? The anxious self is always scanning for potential threats, always braced for the worst, always trying to control outcomes through force of will or excessive planning. When this part is observing, you might notice a racing mind, shallow breath, tension in your body, a sense of urgency or pressure. The anxious self might say, "I have to figure this out right now," or "What if everything falls apart?" or "I can't rest until this is resolved." It collapses reality through the frequency of fear, perpetuating cycles of stress and struggle. Or in a rare moment of clarity, is it your expanded self, the part of you that is pure unconditional love, that is unshakable trust in life, that is deep connection with the quantum field, that is your wisest, most powerful and sovereign version, that's in charge of your observation? The expanded self sees with the eyes of wisdom, of compassion, of infinite possibility. It is not bound by past wounds or future fears. It dwells fully in the present moment, in the truth of your inherent wholeness and power. When this part is observing, you might notice a sense of spaciousness, of peace, of being held in a loving universe. The expanded self might say, "This is happening for me, not to me," or "I am exactly where I need to be," or "Everything is unfolding perfectly." It collapses reality through the frequency of love, creating cycles of grace, flow, and abundance. Just the honest identification without judgment already begins to weaken the power of the unwanted observer and creates vital energetic space for change. You are not the emotion, you are the observer of the emotion, and this is a distinction that changes everything. Third, and this is the point of power, the heart of the technique. Switch the observation point. Breathe, move the body, bring a thought of possibility. Once you've identified the dominant observer that's perpetuating the stagnant situation, you have the key to change. Now, actively, consciously, with deliberate intention, switch the point. Don't fight against the wounded or anxious self. Don't get trapped in its narrative. Just move your attention. Breathe deeply a few times, directing the breath to the center of your heart, expanding that energy. Feel your body, move a little, stretch, change your physical posture, even minimally. This simple physical change sends a new signal to your brain, breaking old neural patterns. And at the same time, bring to your mind a single thought of possibility, a thought of hope, of gratitude, of a new solution you might never have considered before. It doesn't need to be an unshakable belief yet, nor a completely detailed scenario, just a gentle thought, a seed of a new vibration, an opening to the new. By doing this, by breathing with intention, Moving your body with awareness and focusing your mind on a possibility, you are literally altering the position of your observer. You don't need to change the external situation. You don't need to control the world around you, as that's beyond your direct control. You need only, and this is your sovereign power, to switch the observer. And when the observer changes, reality, in its quantum malleability and perfect responsiveness, is obliged to realign and reconfigure around your new vibrational viewpoint, manifesting a new experience. This is the power that the observer effect not only reveals but proves in your life. Let's look at a specific example of how this three-step process might unfold in practice. Imagine you're facing a challenging relationship situation, perhaps ongoing conflict with a partner, a family member, or a colleague. Every interaction seems to follow the same painful pattern. Despite your best efforts to communicate differently, to change the dynamic, you find yourself caught in the same loop, feeling the same frustration, the same hurt, the same sense of being misunderstood or unheard. First, you pause. You take a few deep breaths, closing your eyes if possible, creating a moment of space between yourself and the situation. You ask, who is observing this relationship dynamic right now? Which part of me is perceiving this situation? Second, you identify the observer. Perhaps you recognize that it's your wounded self observing, the part of you that carries old hurts from past relationships, that expects to be dismissed or rejected, that feels fundamentally unworthy of being truly seen and heard. You notice how this wounded observer is creating a lens of pain through which you're perceiving every interaction, unconsciously looking for evidence to confirm that pain, that unworthiness. Or maybe you notice it's your anxious self observing, frantically trying to control the other person's responses, terrified of conflict, desperate for resolution at any cost. You see how this anxious observer is creating a lens of fear through which you're perceiving the relationship, collapsing reality in ways that perpetuate that very fear. Third, you switch the observation point. You breathe deeply, directing that breath to your heart center, feeling it expand. You physically shift, perhaps standing up if you were sitting, relaxing your shoulders if they were tense, softening your face if it was rigid with emotion. And you bring to mind a thought of possibility. What if this person and I are actually on the same team, even if it doesn't feel that way right now? Or, what if there's a solution here that I haven't yet considered, one that honors both of us? Or simply, what if this challenge is actually strengthening my capacity for love and understanding? You don't need to fully believe these thoughts yet. You're simply planting seeds, opening doorways to new frequencies. And then, without forcing anything, without trying to immediately fix the external situation, you simply notice what shifts. Perhaps you feel a subtle release of tension in your body. Perhaps a new insight or perspective suddenly becomes available. Perhaps you find yourself spontaneously responding differently the next time you interact with this person. And as your internal observer shifts, as your frequency changes, the quantum field begins to reorganize around that new frequency, bringing you new experiences, new interactions, new possibilities that weren't visible before. This process can be applied to any area of your life where you feel stuck. Finances, health, career, creative expression, spiritual connection. The principle is always the same. Identify who's observing, recognize the frequency that observer is emitting, and then consciously switch to a different observation point, a different frequency. This is not about denying your feelings or pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's about recognizing your power as the observer, as the consciousness that collapses probability waves into your experienced reality. To seal this profound understanding in your consciousness, so it becomes a lived truth and not just a concept, let's use a symbolic metaphor that can illuminate everything with clarity. Life is a stained glass window. The design doesn't change, but the colors and dimension change according to the light you emit. Imagine a majestic stained glass window in an ancient and grand cathedral. The stained glass itself, with its intricate patterns of colored glass, its skillfully arranged pieces of glass and its complex design, is fixed. It is unalterable in its physical structure. The design is there, immutable in its base form. But when the light that passes through it changes, when the sun moves across the sky, changing its angle, when a dense cloud passes and blocks a ray of light, when the gentle morning light transforms into the vibrant midday light, or when you, the observer, consciously or unconsciously, change the source of light that illuminates it, The colors of the stained glass gain another dimension. The depth magically alters. Nuances reveal themselves in ways you had never perceived before, creating a new visual experience. Your life, my friend, is exactly this stained glass window. The circumstances you face, the external facts that seem so solid, the challenges that test you, the people around you, your relationships, all of this is like the pieces of glass and the lead lines of the stained glass. They may seem fixed, immutable, difficult to change. But the secret, the great liberation, is not in trying to change the stained glass itself, in trying to forcefully rearrange the pieces of glass or fight against the lines that compose it. That would be a fruitless struggle, a lost battle against a structure that doesn't move. The secret lies in illuminating it with another state of being, in changing the light you emit from within yourself, your own vibration. When you consciously emit a new frequency, a frequency of peace amid chaos, of anticipated gratitude, of unshakable trust, of belief in possibility, of radiating love, the colors of your life, the details, the opportunities that arise, the solutions that reveal themselves, the interactions that transform, gain another dimension, revealing themselves in ways that were completely hidden before in the darkness of your old vibration, your limited perception. Think of moments in your life when something that seemed like an insurmountable problem suddenly transformed into an opportunity, not because the external facts changed, but because you saw it differently, because your perception shifted. Think of times when a relationship that seemed hopelessly broken suddenly opened to new possibilities, not because the other person changed, but because you approached it with a different energy, a different expectation, a different way of being. Think of situations where abundance suddenly flowed into your life, not because you worked harder or struggled more, but because you relaxed into a state of trust, of worthiness, of allowing. These weren't coincidences or random shifts of luck. These were moments when you, consciously or unconsciously, changed the light you were emitting, and the stained glass window of your life revealed colors, patterns, and possibilities that were always there, always available, but hidden from your perception by the quality of light you were previously emitting. This understanding offers a profound liberation from the exhausting struggle to control external circumstances, to force change through sheer will or effort. It shows you that your true power lies not in manipulating the outside world, but in consciously choosing your internal state, your way of being, your quality of observation. When you change the observer, reality itself transforms to match that new observation. Life in its quantum essence is not static. It is a dynamic and continuous dance between what is, the potential of the wave, and what you observe, the collapse of the particle. And the power, the supreme power to shape this dance always rests with the observer. You have the inherent power to change the internal light, to turn the prism of your consciousness, to alter your vibrational angle, and by doing so, the design of your reality will reveal itself in a completely new way, aligned with the light you decided to be, with the truth you came to embody. And this is where the practice becomes truly transformative. As you become more conscious of your observer state, as you develop the skill of vibrational repositioning, you begin to recognize that you can choose your frequency in any moment, regardless of external circumstances. You can choose to observe from your expanded self rather than your wounded or anxious self. You can choose to emit the light of love rather than the light of fear. You can choose to collapse reality through the lens of possibility rather than the lens of limitation. This choice is always available to you. It is your sovereign power, your birthright as a conscious creator in this quantum universe. No one can take it from you. No external circumstance can diminish it. It is yours, fully and completely, in every single moment. Because deep down, in the deepest core of your existence, you are not here to simply understand reality with your logical mind, to analyze it from a distance, or to be a passive victim of its apparent solidity. No, you are here uniquely positioned, infinitely empowered to actively co-create it, to sculpt its own form, to paint its vibrant details, to compose its unique melody, to write its unfolding story, to choreograph its dance, to shape its own essence, all from the deep and powerful viewpoint of the observer you consciously choose to be. This is your divine birthright, your destiny, your ultimate creative power, your answer to emerge from any stagnant situation and enter the flow of manifestation. As you practice this awareness, as you develop this skill of consciously choosing your observer state, you'll begin to notice subtle shifts in your experience. Synchronicities will increase. Solutions will appear where before there seemed to be only problems. Relationships will transform. Abundance will flow more easily. Health will improve. Creativity will flourish. Not because you're forcing these changes through external action, but because you're allowing them to manifest through internal alignment, through conscious observation. And yes, there will still be challenges. There will still be moments when you find yourself caught in old patterns, observing from old wounds or anxieties. This is part of the human journey. But with each recognition, with each conscious repositioning, you strengthen your capacity to return to your expanded self, to your true power as the observer. You become more skillful at switching the light you emit, at changing the angle of your observation, at choosing your frequency regardless of external circumstances. Breathe deeply now, and allow these profound truths to settle into your very being, to permeate every cell of your existence, from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. This journey of understanding and embracing the power of the observer effect is not merely an intellectual exercise, a mental concept to be grasped and analyzed. It's a profound, visceral, and deeply personal invitation for deeper authenticity, for greater self-awareness, and for complete, unwavering alignment with your true, magnificent self. It is an urgent and loving call to you to reclaim your inherent power as a conscious co-creator of your world, to step firmly and confidently into your sovereign being, and to finally live the life you were always meant to live, a life of boundless freedom, effortless flow, profound joy, and limitless possibility. As you move forward from this moment, I invite you to begin practicing this awareness, this conscious observation in your daily life. Notice who's observing your experiences. Is it your wounded self, your anxious self, or your expanded self? Without judgment, simply notice. And then, with gentle intention, practice switching the observation point. Breathe, move, bring a thought of possibility. See what shifts, what opens, what transforms as you change the light you emit, as you alter the angle of your observation. Start with small situations, moments of minor frustration or limitation. As you develop the skill, you can apply it to more significant challenges, to deeper patterns of stagnation or repetition. The principle is always the same. Identify the observer, recognize the frequency, switch the observation point. Simple, yet profound in its transformative power. Remember, you are not trying to deny reality or pretend that challenges don't exist. You are simply recognizing that reality is not fixed, not predetermined, not separate from your observation of it. You are acknowledging your power as the observer, as the consciousness that collapses probability waves into experienced reality. You are reclaiming your rightful place as a conscious co-creator in this quantum universe. If this video has touched your soul in a meaningful way, if it has illuminated a clearer, more empowering pathway within your consciousness, if it resonated deeply with your innermost truth and sparked a vivid sense of knowing and possibility for your future, then I warmly invite you to join this vibrant community, to participate in this vital conversation that we are collectively building together, co-creating a new understanding for all. Please leave a comment below with a single word that powerfully represents the stuck situation. You are now truly ready to observe differently, to transcend, to transform into a new freedom, a new clarity, a new foundation for your life. Let that word be a sacred declaration of your intention to the field, a commitment to your new way of being. Thank you for your invaluable presence, for your immense courage to look within, to question, to grow, and to embody these truths. Thank you for your profound willingness to dive into the infinite depths of who you truly are and to activate the power that resides within. Until next time, may you live fully and vibrantly in the glorious flow of conscious creation, always remembering and wielding the majestic power of the observer, the true sculptor of your reality, the master of your destiny.